Today on the Relationship Renovation podcast, we just go right at the heart. We live in a fast-paced world where it's difficult to have a long-term relationship.
What makes a relationship last? Commitment to growth. We are not born with effective conflict resolution skills.
And in this, we give you some practical tools about how you can turn your relationship into the long game.
Every day I get to see this vision board and our 6 words, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this together.
Start a ritual of connection.
Hello all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation podcast. I'm Tarah Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin. And today we're just going to jump into sort of a quick overview of what we think makes a long-lasting relationship in a fast-paced world.
The long game.
Yeah.
Making a relationship last.
We are in the long game. I think of every time I think of our anniversary and I count the years and all, and we're like at 14 together.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow.
14 and a half.
That is not a short amount of time.
It really isn't. It's my longest relationship ever.
It's like a third. It's not quite a third, but it's almost a third of my life.
Well, and I think just today we were talking about it, just like the level of stressors in the world and the pace and challenges of modern life, it puts so much strain on relationships. And we obviously we love seeing couples stay together and navigate all of the stressful moments. A lot of couples don't, but that's why we do these podcasts, because we want you to have that relationship that you deserve for yourself and for each other. So the long game.
Yeah. And when I think of some couples that we're still in contact with, that we worked with 7, plus years ago, they're still together. When they came in, they were in such places of crisis. And now they're their kids have gone off to college and now it's just the two of them.
Now we're doing empty nest stuff.
And I'm like, wow. And it didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen just, that they just white knuckled their way through it, that there were steps that they took, and we helped them a little bit along the way.
Yeah.
And this is our sort of sharing of hey, here's some things we think are essential if you're going to make your relationship work for the long haul.
And I wanted to start off with a quote by, first of all, one of my favorite.
I can't wait to hear.
One of my favorite people, Brené Brown, love her.
Oh.
But she quotes this around relationships, and I just thought it'd be a great way to kind of start our podcast. So Brené Brown says this: to love is to be vulnerable, to give someone your heart and say, I know this could hurt so bad, but I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to be vulnerable and love you. Oh, and it's we want that. I feel like all humans want that at the most core. But there's so much stuff and layers of protection that go with it that it's really scary to trust.
Yeah.
It's really scary to trust.
I remember a moment in our relationship where we were really struggling, and I had to come to this place, and I think you kind of pushed me there a little bit, where I was just you know what? I love you so much that no matter how this ends up, I want you to be happy.
Is this when sex stopped?
It might have been in the midst of
Not that it stopped
dry
completely,
spell.
But it was during a dry spell.
But I just for me, it was just it was more about conflict though. It was more about we were in a lot of it just felt like it was always tense. And I remember it was sort of a surrender to being hurt in some ways, to being even if she had to walk away, I want her to be happy because I love her so much. And And I felt like something shifted inside of me a little bit around how I conducted myself in our relationship.
I mean, so that just goes right into what makes a relationship last. And that first thing that you're saying is that commitment to growth for yourself and for you guys as a couple. You're not supposed to stay where you're at and not change and grow. But people do get stuck, or they want the other person to change and they're not willing to budge. So just that idea of okay, we signed up maybe for a lifetime, forever. That means we're going to go through tons of changes. That means I'm going to go through changes. You're going to go through changes. We're going to go through changes. And we're committed to trying to navigate that the best we can and support each other as much as we can.
I think it is an essential component to a long-term relationship is the commitment to grow together, that we're both going to evolve into better versions of ourselves. And I think oftentimes this is a sticking point and creates a chasm in a relationship is when one person sort of embarks in it. And sometimes it's their own choice. Sometimes it's just life throws stuff at them. They're in a growth mindset, but when their partner's not as well, it's problematic. And so I think it's important
that tough one.
That
it's not
both
me.
people want to grow.
It's not me, it's you. But let me just say this.
We have a podcast episode, I think, called that. It's not me, it's you.
But let me just say this. We get a lot of couples like this, right? Or an individual, like if she or he would just change. But usually once they start to feel safe in the process, that accountability, self-reflection starts to take place. So if you've got a partner that's like, I'm good. Usually like to soften it up, like there is this unveiling, if you will. But it can be difficult.
Our number 2, what makes a relationship last? Effective conflict resolution.
That's hard.
Yes, because really conflict is natural. There are going to be things we disagree about. There's going to be moments where we see the world differently. There's going to be moments where we're just both activated. But when you can consistently resolve conflict in a healthy way, it gives you utter confidence that no matter what, you guys can get through stuff.
And hear this. We are not born with effective conflict resolution skills. No. We are born to protect ourselves from anything uncomfortable. And if you're going to yell at me and if you're going to tell me what I'm saying is wrong, shoo you. Yeah. Not going to happen. And so it is, I mean, when you learn the skills, and there's nothing wrong with you for learning the skills, we don't have them. It's incredible because it actually starts to take form in this. We can have conflict and get through it and we'll be okay. There's no more threat to the relationship. And it really starts with like, instead of like, you made me feel this way, right? Like an idea. I mean, we could give tons of tools, but it's like, hey, when this behavior happened, I felt blank, right? That's like making it about myself. And I'm not saying a behavior that you did might have made me feel really sad. But when you can start to just restructure what feels bad around the conflict and both of you can have that receptivity, that's when you can start to gain healthy conflict resolution skills. I'm sure we have a number of podcasts, a number of them, on healthy conflict resolution.
And the truth is we live in a world where you're sort of programmed that like conflict is win-lose. You either won the argument, you lost the argument. You got your way or your partner got their way. And healthy conflict resolution is about we're going to come to a way, an agreement that works for both of us. Yeah. And that doesn't mean there's not compromise, but I gotta abandon this whole idea that like, Tarah always gets her way.
Yeah, just 99.9%.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
So number one
I thought that was just when you were right. You're just right 99.9% of the time.
I'm just being silly. Okay, so first, commitment to growth for yourself and each other. Second is healthy conflict resolution skills and learning the skills around it. The third one,
and it's a big one,
is shared values and goals, like alignment in the long-term vision. And it's so interesting because we'll, get couples in the beginning and we have nothing in common anymore. And then through the process, and we have them do many different types of intervention, but they're able to they share the same values and goals. They just didn't know it because it was all covered up by so many uncomfortable emotions or avoidance or not talking about it. And so most couples have shared goals and values. They just don't talk about it because the content is so exacerbating at times.
Well, it sort of wraps back up into that conflict resolution thing, is that there might be times where you see things slightly different, or you're trying to formulate a goal together, or you both need to really clarify what your values are about parenting, about money, about family, But most of the time, if you can really get down to it, there are commonalities, and it just needs you just need to work together on it. But it's incredibly important, especially when you think of values, because values are our heart. They're like, this is what I believe about myself, what I believe about the world, what I believe about us. And it's so important to be able to communicate about what your values are regarding a certain topic in order to move together in unison.
And that long-term vision, I know our short-term goals for our family, for us. And I also have our long-term vision. We'll be sitting out on our house in Maine in Booth Bay. Kids are all off to college. Maybe we have I feel it and see it all because we've talked about it. We have a vision board around it. It's really cool. And there's really cool ways to get to the place of what are our shared values and goals. And I'm sure we have many exercises too in all of the podcasts we've done.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with the 6 words. We have a whole episode about the 6 words. Mm-hmm. And we'll link the 6 words episode in our show notes and give you the exact number of it so that you can go and you can create your 6 words, because that's what it is. It's these are the values of our relationship. What are the 6 words that describe the relationship that we want to have together? And we know it. We redo those once a year together.
So, and then we just kind of did 4 things of what makes a relationship last. I'm sure there's 4,000, 4 million things. Obviously,
hopefully not 4 million. So that would be a lot.
But the final one for us today is that consistent effort, small acts of love daily in your relationship. And I don't know if you saw my Instagram story today.
I did.
But EJ leaves these little notes, coffee notes, and it probably takes them less than 30 seconds to write. And every time I wake up in the morning and I see a note, I'm I get excited, right? We've been together for over 14 years. I get excited. It's those little things that we make it through the day. And unfortunately, what happens, right, is just life gets busy and kids and jobs and blah, 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 blah. The challenges of modern life, right? We forget to do those little things because it's just that's just another thing. That's just another task. But what people don't realize is when they have those little small, consistent acts of love for each other, everything else feels way more manageable because I feel more connected in this duo right here.
And all of these things sort of have a way of tying back together in that Tarah very early on expressed to me I need to feel loved consistently. And then she'd even tell me stories. She told me a story about a colleague she'd had that her husband left a note in her lunch pail.
She was my supervisor when I was
every single day. And I at first I would just hear it, and then the third time she told me the story, I was okay, and then I eventually soaked it in and I was she's being very clear. Her value is in our relationship, we consistently express love to each other. And so then I got to move next into the effort. I need the discipline and effort to continually express my love to her. And it feels great. I sometimes my notes end up in this little kind of near our vision wall, and I love it when I see them there. And then whenever I see that they ended up she spilled coffee on it or something, and they're in the trash, I'm oh.
I just don't want to be a hoarder of everything, honey.
But I love to know that you appreciate that. That small effort that I make to express love to you, when I see that it brings you joy, it makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like I'm succeeding.
Ditto. I just the other day, right, I was at Trader Joe's and I got a cute little love card for you.
Oh, I love that.
And you were doing supervision across the street, and I put this little card on your computer, and I was I can't wait for him to come and open up his card. It's not Valentine's Day. It's no birthday. Just it was a Valentine's Day card because it's that season, but it didn't say that. It was just for the purpose of I want him to know I love you. It was one of those cards. I love you more than popcorn. I love you more than soda. I love you more than wine. I love you more than
She loves popcorn a lot.
Okay, so let's get into, so those are right. If you're listening to this, oh, that's so doable, right? We can commitment to growth and healthy conflict resolution and shared values and goals and consistent effort and small acts of love. Guess what? It's really hard.
Yeah, and there's some challenges.
Here are the challenges to it. There's, again, many, we're just touching on a few, but our commitment to work, right? Even nowadays, Is it online? Is it working from home? Like, where's the separation? There's constant things coming in, emails 24/7, like, or comments if you're an influencer on social media, whatever it might be. It's just like work feels like it's just not 9 to 5 anymore. It's very different, especially if you're business owners. For us, it's definitely not a 9 to 5, but that commitment piece, like, what's the priority? Is it responding to an email at 11 o'clock at night? Or is it looking at your partner and saying, I love you? Or maybe you do that part first. Hey, I'm going to let you know I love you, and then I have to answer this email.
Yeah.
There's also...
I mean, I would also expand that, just an overcommitment to other things other than your relationship, that your relationship has to be a primary commitment for you, that work is super important and parenting is very important and your mom and dad are really important and pickleball is really important, but my relationship has to be at the top of the list. It is the primary.
And a big thing, thank you for saying that. That's so true. We just forget it so easily. It's that, I was thinking about this yesterday because there was like a new Apple download with like a new AI, like to make it easier when you're speaking into like Siri or something. And I was like, just another thing to make things like more pleasant, like, and me more impatient, like, I just need to find this now. And I was like, like I kind of like had this like gut reaction to like, I don't want things to come so easily, such instant gratification. That's another challenge. It's like, we have this want everything right now, instant gratification. And if I don't get it now, there's grass is greener on the other side. And when you look at it, what's coming into our modern world, it's like things are so easy. You can just say something and it happens. Music turns on. You get directions to this. I need to find a video. I actually need to say something in an email to my staff. Can I just say it in this? I mean, it's just like, we don't really have to do the work anymore.
Well, and it comes back to this, okay, relationship is a long game and it takes consistent effort. It takes the commitment to growth. It takes consistent effort, small acts of love. You have to know each other's values. That all takes effort. And we can get distracted by other things. We can let literally just like social media, we can let social media become so much more important than turning around and saying, Tarah, like, how was your day? Like I really actually care. Tell me more about what's going on to you. Because that takes effort. Yeah. And then here's the problem when affairs happen, when emotional connections that aren't appropriate happen, is you don't have to try to get the brain sparks of connection with a new person. That's the whole grass is greener thing, right? Yeah. And so if I want to have like that same excitement that I have with you and that you just like light me up and I love seeing you and I think you're gorgeous and all those things, I have to make an effort to keep you fresh.
So I had a couple yesterday. I just have to share this story. If you're listening, you know who you are. And they were talking about just feeling disconnected over the past couple of weeks. And, he was like, I just feel like I've been a little dissociated and like not present. And she was like, I'm super frustrated because I knew this was going to happen again. And I was like, okay, like, let's just break it down. And this is about the media distraction or cell phone. She's like, well, he just like when he gets back from work, he doesn't even try to like ask me how my day is, or he just doesn't check in with me anymore. And he's like, well, I look at you and I see you scrolling through the phone. And I feel like, oh, maybe you're just like, that's more important than me right now. And no one's saying a thing to each other. Yeah. Both of them want to connect.
Lots going on beneath the surface.
So of course we set up a system. It's like the easiest system in the world. Like right when you guys get home, check in with each other. What do you need? Oh, I need 10 minutes of scrolling. Great. What do you need? I need 10 minutes to go out into the garden, whatever. Yeah. But it's like they're both wanting connection, but the other's caretaking. Well, if he, and she was like, well, if he's not going to check in with me, I'm just going to scroll. He's thinking, oh, she's scrolling, I'm less important. And actually they both wanting to connect, but they're waiting for the other person to do it. And it's not going to happen. You have to be able to have a voice and say what you need.
Yeah. That's borrowing from Abby Metcalf, right? In our interview, she talked about like every single time her and her husband come back together at home, they greet one another. And she even said like, sometimes she'll like shake kick her butt in front of him to get his attention. But like that, you always, when you see your partner, you make that effort. You don't take the instant gratification of the social media or whatever, listening to a podcast. For me, it's like I drop it all. I come and I'm like, hey, T.
I just want you to know that we have to get better at that. We try. We're like Abby
we fade in and out of it.
Abby was so good. I was like, oh my God, we're going to do that every time. And then it's just like that, right? It's just that creating habits. Like you've got to just create those habits. But so anyway, everything we're talking about, right? All of the stressors, the modern day, like social media, phone distractions, you name it.
Can I add just like one more?
Instant gratification, yes.
And it's sort of the flip of instant gratification. And I think it's a big challenge for couples is just habituation. It's something that you've talked about a lot in the past, is just like we get used to our partner and we don't see them as sparkling and new. And we have to make consistent efforts to see them in different lights, to be curious about them. We have to sort of fight habituation.
Yes, because again, everything we're talking about right now, it leads to, and this is where the relationships break down, right? And these are the biggest challenges. It leads to a lack of quality time together. Yeah. Lack of quality time, intentional quality time, not spontaneous quality time. That's great when that happens. It's like, how can we even, like with this couple I saw yesterday, how can you guys plan 10 minutes out of the day, 10, not 3 hours, not 5 minutes, 10, to talk about what you're needing, how you did for the day, right? Because theirs was at the end of the night. 10 minutes, right? That's intentional because it shows we care, and there's all these other things that get in the way. And if we don't do this, we are not going to prioritize each other. Now, if you could do more, that's great, but it's how to get quality time together. And so there's some practical tools, right?
Yeah. So we want to offer you, we've sort of identified what makes a healthy relationship, what are the challenges for modern couples. And now it's like, okay, here's 4 practical tools. Here's things that you can start today, tonight, they're going to have an impact on your relationship. Number 1, Tarah?
Just creating rituals of connection, checking in, right? We have all of our couples that start our relationship renovation model. You got to start a check-in process, right? Like how are you, so you guys know each other's emotional landscapes. Checking in or date nights, right? Just having like every Saturday, EJ and I know we will have at least 1 to 2 hours. Kids are doing whatever, but we're going to make sure we're playing Yahtzee in front of the fire, making our popcorn, watching a movie, whatever it is. We know that will happen every single week unless I'm out of town or somebody's sick.
Number 2, second practical tool is gratitude.
Practicing.
Gratitude is the fuel that keeps your relationship going, is looking for the things that your partner does that you appreciate and looking them in the eyes and telling them, thank you, Tarah. I love how you bring fun and playfulness into our life, into our relationship.
And thank you, EJ. I love how you bring your wisdom. You're just a wise soul and groundedness to our family. We try to do our—
That feels good. I love that.
Gratitudes every morning. And our kids also get to see it and witness it, which is— I feel like that's really powerful, the power of gratitude, especially with kids and how entitled our kids can feel at times.
And this next one is an important one. It's creating a balance between independence. I do my own things that make me feel good and that help me connect with my sense of self, which I think Tarah likes. And then also interdependence, togetherness, that we have to maintain healthy individuality, but also work on our togetherness.
Like tonight, I have my 4:30 yoga with my 2 girlfriends. Love it. It's my time. It fuels me. It feels like, oh, I am me without the children and EJ and our business. I am just in a hot yoga room and it feels so good. I'm sure you feel that way when you're playing pickleball, though you have not had a ton of time to do that. But just that individual time, independent time, and that together time, it just creates a nice balance, right? And a sense of like, I'm not losing who I am. Like I am still me, and we respect each other and support each other in doing our outside activities. We know that like refuel us after life can get in the way.
All right. So recapping really quick on the practical tools to have that amazing relationship in this fast-paced modern world. 1, establishing rituals of connection that you're consistent with. 2, practicing gratitude, telling one another what you appreciate about the other person. 3rd was balancing independence and interdependence. And the last is creating or revisiting the shared goals that you have together.
Short-term and long-term. I like both. Like the way we do it is we have like a little vision board on our kitchen with our 6 words. So I get to see it every day. Like today, I just looked at it. I've got my pictures of like yoga. And I've got a picture of like a house on a cliff in Maine looking over the ocean. That's long-term, right? That's one day. But it's like every day I get to see this vision board in our 6 words. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this together. Like this will happen. Not this could happen. This will happen. And it's just having that, creating that shared, again, goals or vision board together. It feels inspiring, uplifting. Even when you're in the like darkness of dark, you can look at something and be like, okay, like that's still in my heart's desire. It might be a long way away right now, but like that's something I'm trying to achieve for.
Yeah. So we wanted to, when we did this this outline, we wanted to end and give you one direct call to action.
Oh yeah.
Right? One thing that like, hey, walk away from this episode, connect with your partner and do this. And that is start a ritual of connection. Start, whether that's a check-in, whether that's like we meet at the doorway and give each other a kiss every single time we return from work, from going outside, but create one ritual of connection with your partner.
Gratitude prayer in the morning.
Yeah. Pick it, make an agreement, and stick to it.
And when you do this, we want to hear from you, like on our social media or YouTube, whatever is out there. Like even if in a week, if that shifted something for more quality time, like what was that like for you? Because your experiences help other couples recognize actually that does work and it's very uplifting. And we're trying to create a relationship renovation community globally to uplift each other.
We are creating it.
And yes, and staying connected. That is our passion. And so the more we hear from you and that it's like, wow, just that one little thing, Tarah, EJ, like that has helped us so much to feel more connected. We are doing our job.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even feel like a job.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, listeners. Thank you for tuning in, to listening to us, to hopefully taking some action outside in your relationship or even sharing the podcast with someone that you think could benefit from all of the trying to teach all the skills that we teach. And
do us one favor today. Give us a review. Just give us today. As soon as you finish listening to this podcast, please just go to Apple, go to Spotify, and just give us a review. Tell us what you think of it. Throw some stars up there. That would mean a lot to us.
So thank you so much for listening. As always, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.